Regarding MSDF, I support closing that facility. The conditions there I don't think are humane, and it's not addressing the needs of the community, especially I think regarding crimeless verifications. That's a practice I think that we need to scale back and end. We don't need to lock people up for minor technicalities. As far as new prisons, if our old prisons are outdated and in order to maintain what we have, and we can replace those, but overall we should be scaling back our prison population and making sure that we're not incarcerating people who don't need to be incarcerated, that we should legalize marijuana so that that's something that we're not incarcerating people for, and overall just doing things, providing more alternatives to incarceration, drug courts, drug treatment, community service, things that we're not necessarily locking people up for.
As far as mass incarceration goes, the true problem that I've seen, I've studied and lobbied the subject for a number of years now, that people are returning to prison for not doing anything more. And I don't ever want to disrespect the rest of the community saying that we're paying attention to people in prison that made mistakes or wrong choices and we don't want to keep you safe. Keeping the community safe is always number one. I'd rather build people in schools and factories than prisons, but if building a new prison and closing the old ones that aren't healthy for people is going to help them rehabilitate and grow into better people, I would look at it. I'm all for medical marijuana. As far as recreational use, I hear that's going to be on the ballot this November or August, and I'm going to leave that up to the people to decide.
I don't really like talking about building more prisons and building more facilities for young people or adults. What can I do as a lawmaker and a policy changer to make sure they don't get there? So a big thing I've done at the city, I convinced the mayor's office, the common council, the community development block grant office, the municipal court, the Milwaukee Public Schools, and the Milwaukee Police Department. We have to give, especially when young, so if you get in there early, you stop it from happening later in life. So what we've done is we're actually implementing a youth court very soon. So when young people get in trouble with MPD, especially at schools, they get the option to come to a youth court, which is a panel of their peers, and they ask them what happened. Then now we figure out what happened. What do I feel you're missing? Is it resources? Is it exposure? Is it support? Whatever it may be, I'm gonna direct you to this program. I'm gonna have this activity done. That's gonna help you get what you're missing, and hopefully from that, one, you don't get a record, and so you don't get in the revolving door of the justice system. But two, you now have the exposure. The exposure is key. You now have the exposure and the resources needed to move forward in the right direction.
We need to hold our systems and our administrators accountable for what kind of actions are happening in our systems, in our schools, in our prisons. We're just asking for more resources and more funding, which we do need in certain instances. But I also know that a lot of the people that are in our community that I call them the invisible people because they feel like they're lifeless, there's no use for them anymore. And we can use them to fill the gaps where we are finding some need, if it's like tutoring for our children, safety on buses, safety at the bus stop. We can use these resources, even in our police force. We need safety on both ends, our officers and as well as our community.
We need to end mass incarceration. I'm tired of us having that black eye on the state of Wisconsin. And there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that we can go after in order to ensure that we can end mass incarceration. One of those things is ending crimeless revocations. Prison is big business, and of course there are those who would support that. I think that closing MSDF is a priority because it's just a hazard. If we legalize marijuana, if you ask me in the next 5 to 6 years, I think it's going to be legal everywhere. There's going to be some kind of Supreme Court case where somebody's traveling from Washington or Colorado or California to a state that prohibits marijuana, and it's going to go all the way up, and it's going to be legal everywhere. I really think it's important to get in front of the train and say if it's going to be legal in Wisconsin, that we have lawmakers and that we have people that get to determine where the money's going to go.